Have you ever seen one of those videos that shows someone learning a language or an instrument in just 30 days? And you think, how is this possible? Well, what if I told you that you could learn anything fast and go from zero to hero in just 72 hours? Sounds impossible, right? But it's actually quite simple when you know the right accelerated learning hacks. And these are the ones that you need to try now. Number 1. The power of your mind, our brain, is like a muscle. If we don't use it, we lose it. There are so many people who have learned new things in their life, but then forgot them because they do not keep practicing and using them. This is why you need to understand that your brain will only be as powerful as the things that you feed it. So if you want to become a hero at something, then you need to start thinking like one. Spend time every day visualizing yourself as a hero, doing the thing that you want to be good at. This might sound silly at first, but our brains can't tell the difference between real or imagined experiences. So by visualizing yourself as a hero, you're actually training your brain to believe that it's true. And once your brain believes it, it will start to act accordingly. So next time you want to learn something new, take some time off to visualize yourself as a hero doing the thing that you want to be good at. It might seem silly at first, but trust me, it works. Number 2, chunking. When we're trying to learn something new, we tend to break it down into smaller parts. This is called chunking. For example, if you're learning a new language, you might start by learning the alphabet, then move on to basic phrases, then more complex grammar rules, and so on. By breaking down the learning process into smaller chunks, we make it less overwhelming and easier to manage. But it's not just about making the learning process easier. Chunking also helps us to remember what we've learned. Our brains love patterns, and when we see them, we're more likely to remember that information. By chunking information together, we create these patterns that our brains can easily recognize and recall. For example, if you were learning the Spanish alphabet, you might chunk the letters together based on the sounds that they make. This would make it easier for you to remember the entire alphabet, and you'd be able to use it correctly when speaking or writing in Spanish. To chunk information effectively, you need to first identify the main concepts you want to learn. Then group related concepts together into smaller units. Once you've created your chunks, review them regularly to keep the information fresh in your mind. Chunking is a great way to learn faster and remember what you've learned. So use it to your advantage the next time you sit down to study. Number 3, active recall. Imagine you're at a restaurant trying to remember the name of a dish you want to order. You think back to when the waiter described it, and suddenly it hits you. Ah, that's the one with the shrimp and the cilantro. We use active recall all the time without realizing it, and it's one of the most effective ways to remember what we've learned. Active recall is a learning technique that involves actively retrieving information from memory rather than passively rereading notes or highlighting text. It forces us to actively engage with the material we're trying to learn, which leads to deeper processing and better retention. Here's how it works. First, you need to figure out what you want to remember. This could be anything from facts and figures to procedures and processes. Next, you need to actively retrieve the information from memory. This means that you shouldn't just look at your notes or search Google. Instead, try to recall the information from memory. You can do this by asking yourself questions about the topic or by closing your eyes and trying to remember as much as you can. Finally, you need to review the information that you've recalled. This is important because it helps you to identify any gaps in your knowledge and also reinforces the information that you already know. By using active recall regularly, you can improve your ability to remember what you've learned. This is an effective way to learn faster and more efficiently. So use it to your advantage the next time you sit down to study. 4. Spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is a learning technique that has been proven to be extremely effective in helping people learn and retain information. It's a simple concept based on the idea that we tend to forget information over time, and that forgetting can be used to our advantage. Spaced repetition involves intentionally spacing out the intervals between study sessions so that you force yourself to actively recall the information from memory each time you study. This process helps to strengthen the neural connections related to the information you're trying to learn, making it easier to remember over the long term. Spaced repetition can be applied to virtually any type of learning, from memorizing facts and figures to learning a new language or mastering a complex skill. One of the biggest benefits of spaced repetition is that it helps to reduce the amount of time needed to learn new information. By spacing out study sessions and forcing yourself to actively recall information, you'll be able to learn more efficiently and effectively. Another major benefit of spaced repetition is that it reduces the forgetting curve. As we all know, we tend to forget information over time, but with spaced repetition, you can significantly slow down the rate of forgetting. By spacing out study sessions and regularly testing yourself on the material, you can keep the information fresh in your mind and reduce the amount of time you need to spend relearning it. Overall, spaced repetition is an incredibly effective learning technique that can help you learn faster, more efficiently, and more effectively. If you haven't tried it before, I highly recommend giving it a shot. You may be surprised at how quickly and easily you're able to learn new information. Number 5. Interleaved practice. Interleaved learning is a technique that involves mixing up the order in which you practice different skills or learn new information. This is in contrast to blocked learning, which is when you practice one skill or learn one concept at a time. Interleaved learning has several advantages over blocked learning. For one, it can help you to remember what you've learned. By mixing up the order in which you practice, you're forced to actively retrieve information from memory more often. This helps to strengthen the connections between your brain and the new information, making it easier to remember over time. Additionally, interleaved learning can help you to develop more flexible and adaptable skills. When you mix up the order in which you practice, you're constantly having to adjust and adapt to new situations. This can help you to develop a more flexible and adaptable skill set that can be applied to a variety of different contexts. However, it's important to note that interleaved learning can be more challenging initially. When you're first learning a new skill or concept, it can be difficult to remember which version you're supposed to be using. But this difficulty can actually be beneficial in the long run, as it can lead to more robust and adaptable learning outcomes. 6. Past to future. Did you know that understanding the past can help us predict the future? This is the idea behind past to future learning. By understanding the history of a subject or concept, we can better predict how it will develop and change over time. This can be especially useful in fields such as history, science, and technology, where understanding the past is essential to predicting the future. For example, if you want to learn about the future of artificial intelligence, it would be helpful to understand the history of AI development and the key events that have shaped the field. Similarly, if you're interested in the future of renewable energy, it would be useful to understand the history of energy production and consumption and how it has evolved over time. Past to future learning can also help us to appreciate the complexity of issues and the interconnectedness of events. By understanding the history of a subject, we can see how different events and factors have contributed to the present day and how the future may unfold. This can help us to develop a more nuanced and sophisticated understanding of the world around us. 7. Learn how to unlearn. We learn new things every day, but sometimes we need to unlearn those things in order to make room for new information. This is especially true in fields such as science and technology, where there is always new information to learn. The process of unlearning can be challenging, but it is necessary in order to stay up to date and keep our minds sharp. Here's how to unlearn effectively. First, identify the outdated information that needs to be unlearned. This can be done through self-reflection or by seeking feedback from others. Next, challenge the accuracy and relevance of the existing information. This can involve critical thinking and questioning whether the information is still accurate or applicable. Once the outdated information has been identified and challenged, it's time to actively seek out new information and perspectives. This can involve reading books, attending workshops, or talking to experts in the field. Finally, apply the new information and perspectives to real-world situations. This can help to solidify the learning and make it more meaningful. Remember that unlearning is a continuous process that requires patience and persistence. By following these steps, you can make it easier to unlearn outdated information and make room for new knowledge and skills. Now that you know all these accelerated learning hacks, it's time to put them into action. Start by identifying what you want to learn, and then use these hacks to make the learning process easier and more effective. With a little practice, you'll be on your way to becoming a true hero in no time. Remember, it's never too late to start learning something new, so don't wait another minute. Start today and see how quickly you can become a hero at something. Don't forget to share your progress with us in your comments below. Good luck and happy learning it fast. Until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.